Good evening and welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Linda White and I'm your moderator for the evening. This webinar series is brought to you by Community Living Ontario's Inclusion Initiative. It's been designed to share information with a family perspective, and it's seeking to have and to share with you how we need to have quality education that includes expectations of academic success and inclusion in regular classrooms. This webinar is dedicated to understanding how individualized education plans work. They are commonly referred to as IEPs. Our presenter this evening is Marilyn Dolmage. As an inclusive education consultant, Marilyn assists schools and families to work together to improve education. She communicates with a broad network of allies from across the province concerning the law, provincial policies, educational practices, and advocacy strategies. She is also a member of Canada's National Inclusive Education Network. Marilyn would say that she has learned most from her 3 children, whose insights have given her hope for the future. Her family struggled to ensure the children attended school together and to assist her older son to have the education, medical treatment, employment, and community life that he wanted. Matthew's sudden death in 2004 at the young age of 29 has heightened her resolve to improve policy and strengthen families, schools, and community. This webinar is the second in this series. The first was held January 26th and focused on vision and asserting a vision for your child's inclusive education. Absolutely where one must start and stay when moving from year to year in their child's education career. You can go to Community Living Ontario's website to hear the recorded webinar and see the slides. Due to some technical difficulties with our service provider on that webinar, we did run out of time, and this did not allow for our presenters to answer questions. To accommodate for this, our presenters answered the participants' questions, and they are posted there with the recorded webinar. I am confident that tonight we will not have that problem, and we will have time for a couple of questions. So please let me set you up with some instructions on how this webinar is going to work for you tonight. Throughout the entire time of this webinar, you are welcome to at any time type in questions. We will wait till the end of the presentation before selecting a couple of questions. This webinar is not designed to answer specific questions or consult on particular situations. We do understand that with this information, and frankly even without this information, you may have questions about your own unique situations. We simply do not have the capacity to work through individual scenarios with this type of information sharing. It is our intention to use this as a forum to get information out to you. We absolutely recognize that it's important to learn from each other's situations and experiences, and we will be looking to bring opportunities that bring people together face-to-face or with more interactive web formats. Make sure that you provide your contact to us so that we can be in touch and share resources and provide invitations to workshops and events. We welcome your reflections and comments. Please send them to our email here. It is iewebinar@communitylivingontario.ca, and we'll have that up on the slide at the end of the webinar. Also, once the webinar is finished, please help us by taking the time to complete our very brief questionnaire at the end. That would be grateful, and we'd be appreciative of your input. We hope to explore future opportunities for people to learn and share together. So sit back and enjoy the comforts of home, where you will not want to miss tonight's event. And here and now I have the opportunity and the pleasure to welcome to this webinar Marilyn Dolmage.
Thank you, Linda. This presentation will be posted on the Community Living Ontario website, and you will probably want to go back and find some key links There's quite a bit of information going to come across in the next little while, but you can always go back to it, you can listen to it again, and you can watch the slides. So there isn't a desperate need to write everything down as it comes past you. And it may be helpful to have, if you're a parent, to have your son or daughter's IEP in front of you during this webinar. If you work in a school system, you might want to have your system's IEP format in front of you. This is not really a how-to this evening, but it's really about the process and how it serves improving inclusive education for students of all abilities. This one? Okay. So I imagine us sitting at different computers, and that's what we are. Although we're not face-to-face, I think that we're in good company. We're able to share some important information. It's going to be more than just knowing the students' rights, because there's a lot more collaboration needed in order to use the information that we're sharing tonight. If you are alone sitting at your computer, and then I'd encourage you to find others that you can share this information with, talk it over. I'd encourage both parents in a family or all the people who support a student to review the information together. So although we're not face-to-face, there are some opportunities, and Linda mentioned Community Living Ontario is looking for more opportunities to bring people together. I want to say that, to start with, that IEPs don't come from a view of inclusive education. They really come from the old world of therapy. And unfortunately, that all too often has meant segregation for students with disabilities. They start with a position of assessment and diagnosis, and people with disabilities have said they didn't like assessment because it only said what doesn't work on me. The person doing the assessment tends to have a lot more power, and people resent someone else saying that they know what's best for them. It might, that old world may look at pressure on the student to do all the changing, when it's actually, inclusive education is really about building accessibility and accommodations and adapting school in a whole lot of ways so that students of all abilities will be welcome, no matter how many skills they gain. Of course, we're looking at gaining skills, but the pressure doesn't need to be on the student. So I include a little picture of myself here as a bit of a joke, because I think in discussing the value of IEPs for inclusive education, I certainly feel a little bit between a rock and a hard place, and you may too. This will be an attempt to use IEPs in new ways, to create change, to motivate some action, to promote inclusive education. And the fact is that although we feel between a rock and a hard place sometimes, the rock is a good thing to climb on and get up to where we really want to be. So this little cartoon shows it proves you can dream with your head in the clouds and still have your feet firmly on the ground. Inclusive education is worth achieving, even though it's difficult sometimes. I was reflecting on my way here this evening on a webinar that was held today at noon with Community Living Ontario and the Canadian Association for Community Living, and it was wonderful then to have the Minister of Education in New Brunswick talk about the same things we're going to talk about tonight, the value of inclusive education and the value for all students. So that kind of change is definitely possible, and the challenge we have is worth it, and we can succeed. I wanted to just make sure we're clear about our terms. When I talk about inclusive education, I mean whatever it takes in the way of support. Support for the students to learn better because they are together, where students of all abilities are together. There are some wonderful learning opportunities created. But the support is for the teachers as well. The reality is, in our advocacy efforts across Ontario, across Canada for that matter, we we are determined that students of all abilities will be members of regular classrooms, going to their natural neighborhood school, the school they would go to if they didn't have a disability. And we know that those students will need supports, but it's I think a little more possible to build teamwork when we talk about bringing support quickly to teachers, because there will be students of all abilities in their classes. It means, we really do mean students of all abilities. There is no other position when we're talking about inclusive education, but it will be uniquely planned for each student. We talk about the highest possible individual, academic, and social learning goals, whatever works for that student, but as high as possible. That's a judgment call, and that's part of the IEP process. Let's think about an IEP as a support, a key way to assist teachers as well as students. The Lakehead Public Schools had showed me a sort of motto on some information they're planning recently, and they talked about your children. As parents, you know best what's best for your children. You're thinking about their best interests. Our students, the school board said, and I think that's that shared responsibility between parents and teachers, educators. Teachers know the education system, families know the students. They bring that information together because it's about the future. It's about the students and it's their future. So I think that's kind of a nice way to start our sense of teamwork around the IEP, that we all have valid input and we must value each other's input. I'm speaking addressing my comments primarily to parents, actually to families. So I'll show you a picture of mine. Here you have Jay and Matthew and Leah, many, many years ago, before they started school. That's more than 30 years ago. Here's a picture of Jay and Matthew and friends coming home from elementary school. And I put this in to really just comment that families in Ontario have been advocating for inclusive education for 25 to 30 years. And I laugh about this because the styles of clothing come in and out of vogue, and we're still working on these issues. And we find new ways to do it. So fast forward ahead, here are Matthew and Leah at Jay's wedding to Heather. And this picture was taken 4 months before Matthew died very suddenly. And I mentioned that because I think I want to convey the urgency, that the kind of change that we want to, the challenge we have, the change we want to create has to happen. 25, 30 years isn't going to work for your children. The overall advocacy process in the province takes that long, takes longer, but life is too short for individuals and families to have struggles and to take wrong turns along the way. So even faster forward, I'm working for my grandchildren and for your children, and really what the Lakehead Public School System said about our future. And just a little background, the word curriculum comes from a Latin word that means something, has something to do with a race course. And certainly in Roman times that didn't look like a sports car. But I think today we need that kind of urgency, that speed, the best we have in terms of getting from A to B for students. After all, it's about the student's future. And so a definition of curriculum is the deeds and experiences a student should have to become the adult he or she ought to become. So that journey is urgent for the student. The IEP is not the teacher's and it's not the parents' plan, but it's about creating a better future for students. It's theirs. And someone who says that really well in song is John Bon Jovi. And if you maybe want to sing out just to yourself where you're sitting, is "It's my life, it's now or never. I just want to live while I'm alive, and I want what I want along the way."